Hello. We got people here. Hello, Tingwish. Looks like that's working. Hey. Hello, Tabby. Hello, Aaron. I'm gonna turn off monitoring because it's just gonna drive me nuts right now. I was just testing. Okay. So, where were we, huh? We were at the dialect split. We were starting working on different ideas for vowel shifts. And then, and we were talking about, okay, so we'd already done a few consonant shifts. I actually was thinking more on this and thinking about, um, do we want this eject, do we want something to happen with glottalization in all of them so that it's reflected, or do we want, like, right now we have, like, in dusk it just completely gets deleted. In day we have a glottal stop. um we could make it a tone thing in one. I was thinking maybe a simple pitch accent like system could happen in one language. uh Possibly, but possibly we could get that from the stress system. We could just do it that way. Have to see. Um, right now we were working on vowels and we were thinking about, okay, diphthongs. Tone in dusk. Why dusk particularly? I said that there were adjectives in the dawn dialect and in the night dialect. Um, and let's think about these vowel shifts. That's interesting. See, I was thinking about doing tone in the day, but we could do it in dusk. Depends on how we want to arrange things, huh? Adjectives came from these where I have situations like the so I have these geminates that can even occur at the beginning of the word. We're definitely going to lose geminates at the at the beginning of the word. Not all of them are going to get lost, right? But the ones that are lost at the beginning of a word, but but what we have, these glottalized consonants are going to become the adjectives in the dawn and night dialects. I chose to do it in dawn and night specifically because so night is the most conservative, so it makes sense to have a like an actual glottalized consonant come up there. Um, but for dawn, my thought was like I don't necessarily want to have it only happen. I didn't want it to be dusk and night that do it because I don't want to associate. Um, I don't want to associate adjectives with like darkness and evil creatures. I don't want to like stereotype it that way. So if it's also associated with dawn, then that's like very different vibes involved, right? Um, Whereas I'm not as concerned about that with the the QP shift because I mean that's not already stereotyped in ways. Adjectives I find in like the languages that in the scheme of like the Hollywood languages, and this is not to dunk on the creators, you know, but I feel like adjectives have started to like become an index for like alienness of a language, which I don't think any particular feature should be that. Um, because at least not anything that occurs in natural languages, because that gets problematic. And I thought that making it dusk and night would be feeding into that, so I make it dawn and night. Dialects do that, do the adjectives. Um, just trying to think about these things. Um, and again, this is not a dig on like creators who use adjectives in their conlangs. Uh, Even the ones that do it professionally, because remember they're not the only ones making decisions. They're usually giving several options to the people who are making the movie, and then the people making the movie are choosing something, right? So it's any of those kind of things that creep in. Yeah, why is it? Okay, I can see my data here. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. And it's very frustrating for the conlangers too, because like very often what they want is is very weird, is kind of annoying to conlangers. They'll say things that you don't know what they mean, right? They'll say things that I want a guttural language or a harsh language, and don't mind me. I'm just trying to figure something out. Okay. I Okay. Sorry, I'm just here. But anyway, I think we need to figure out where these vowel shifts happen. And I think oops. Yeah, so we were thinking about different vowel shifts. Looking at this, it looks like this can sort of happen like this whole thing has to happen together. These can kind of stand on their own. Possibly you'd get some, or like you'd have different results in different dialects. And then these shifts, I guess that I would need to have something happen to these high vowels before these shifts happen, huh? So let's figure that out. I'm going to let's see. I want to make sure that yeah. I just want to be able to check in once in a while. I'm thinking like this could kind of stand on its own. This one could probably happen on its own. I don't know that we want to do anything too crazy radical because like the way that the the way that it works out, like we need to remember that these are four dialects. These are not four separate languages. Now, exactly how much change we're kind of skirting the edge of that because we are doing some pretty significant shifts already. The thing about a dialects versus a language, like the amount of change you can do to keep it being a dialect and not a separate language, that's fuzzy. That's not a thing that you can just like necessarily say like there's a definitive thing. There is some research that is trying to put that has tried to put a definitive target on when does when do dialects diverge to become languages, right? But it's still iffy. There's just the one study that has like found this particular dip. Um, but I think that let's see, how many changes do we have here? Like this whole shift is one shift. This is one thing. this is several different things. And then this, I mean, this is actually several different possible shifts. So I think we have enough that I have an idea here. And I'm just working this out live. What kind of die should I use for this? How granular do I want to be? That's a good question. So let's I think dialects diverge into languages when words can be defined. I don't know what you mean by that. So the question I have is, let's make this a D8. And then we're going to want to make the Twilight dialects weighted higher. I think Dawn would be rated highest. So 1 to 4, we start something in Dawn. And then 5. No. Wait. No, that's not enough. Let's do a D12. I have a D12 in here somewhere. I have a D20. Yeah, D12. D12 should be fine. So and then that's 1 to 6. Go to Dawn. D12. And then let's go with 4. Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10. No. 7, 8, 9. 7 to 9. We go dusk. Now I don't like that waiting. Let's go with 1 to 5 dawn and then 6 to 9 dusk. And then 10 or 11 is day. 12 is night. So, Tabby, what you're talking about there, in terms of mutual intelligibility, there are a lot of complications on that. That is the standard. However, mutual intelligibility depends on a lot of different factors. There's factors of how much contact is there between the groups, how much contact is there between the groups, how much do they want to understand each other. That's something that you might not realize is an issue. And then it's like there's also something called a dialect continuum, which Aaron is something that you are alluding to, in that Scots is not mutually intelligible with my dialect of English. I listen to Scots and I cannot get enough information to really understand it. Written Scots I can understand a little bit better, but spoken is not. It's not easy. And so, I don't mean to put this in the. That's this rolling table is going to be advisory. By the way, it's not. It's not going to be. I'm not going to always refer to it. So yeah, it's kind of iffy. Okay, so let's go. Let's talk about this long shift. This is dependent on. Okay, so this is all one thing happening. Is these vowels go to a single vowel. The long vowels become short. For what reason, I don't know. Then these become long. So let's... This one I don't think I'm going to roll for. This one, I will roll this one as a 50-50 roll. And go and connect that. But what is going on here? I'm hearing myself. Are you hearing me twice? Okay. All right. I don't know how that happened. So I'm going to do a straight 50-50 roll on whether this one starts in dawn or dusk. Just to get us started. So I don't know if it matters so much. It rolled off the paper. 4. Yeah, so we'll have it start in dawn. So this... where am I? Long shift. And V schwa goes to V long. And then this starts in dawn here. Okay. To ps. Are you talking about like the Greek thing? Okay. So it definitely happens in dawn. Let's see where it spreads to. And for that, like how many languages get this, right? For that, I'll grab a D4. and this is an advisory role. I may not follow this, but this is going to be an idea of how many of these dialects have this. Okay. It's hard to see on camera, but I did roll a 3 there. Can I? So that is actually spread. So I'm going to say it spreads to day and to dusk. But the night dialect retains the original long-short distinction. So that's going to be interesting. And when we get to coinization, that's going to have some weird effects. Yeah, Aaron, I've read that. I'm not 100% convinced about it. But like, so they have several lines of evidence in that paper, and some of them are more convincing than others. The biomechanical simulation seems legit to me, though I don't know that much about the biomechanics of labiodental fricatives, so I'm not 100% sure how well I'm evaluating that. The historical information they use as evidence, I'm a bit weaker on that because I am not sure you can properly reconstruct the difference between a bilabial fricative and a labiodental fricative in historical with like the comparative method, because very often those two sounds would behave phonologically the same, and I can't, and so like I feel like there's going to be a lot of uncertainty about which one a language had at a particular point. There are some differences in like what results they can get, but they also are both labial sounds. You usually only have one of them, so you're not going to really see a contrast. We're not beavers. But it's intriguing. Contemporary evidence can be used, but the contemporary evidence also, I'm not, probably is okay. I think we can be reasonably accurate, although, if you're looking at big databases of linguistics, there can be issues with identification of sounds sometimes in particular languages. Yeah. Yeah. All dental Neanderthal language. I've there's some conflicting things still on whether Neanderthals would have different vocalizations from modern humans or not. They certainly had pretty advanced cognitive ability. They made art and such, but there's some genes there's some genetic variants that they don't have that modern humans have that may affect the specific structures for doing language. Okay, so we've decided that this starts in dawn and then spreads to day and dusk. It doesn't happen in night. And then insert rows below, insert rows below. Here's where I'm going to I think we can change this into two categories. We can have raising and fronting. And these diphthong simplifications, I don't know. Do you guys think that these would all go together or they would be separated? Hi, Danielle. How you doing? Hey, Bubba. I don't actually know why your names are colored differently. I'm gonna say I can. Okay. I don't know why I cannot. Dr. Kitten? So, we've decided where this goes. And this is actually, this is literally just two sound changes, right? And then these, I think what we can say is, okay, I'm going to roll for where this starts according to our table. So, and then I'm going to spread it to other dialects. 8. 8 would be it starts in the dusk dialect. Okay. So dusk. Yeah. So diphthong simplification. So this starts in dusk. And it's relevant which one starts because eventually we will work out what the order is in each dialect. And we could use that information to inform that, right? So like if this actually happens in dusk before it gets the long shift, right? Then we could end up with short a, right? Now, we want to decide how many dialects does this affect. We can just roll that. We can just roll that. Let's roll how many dialects this affects. And let's see if I can... it only affects one? No. Let's roll again. Let's make it actually do more. We got 3. But which 3? So... So dusk actually does affect day. But I think actually I'm not going to go by that roll because what I'm going to do is it's spread but partial. And what happens is only a changes, right? We can have that happen. And then we need to actually like sort out like the actual result for each of these. Right? So yeah, well, I set this up saying that these roles would be advisory. That's because I do want to be a little bit like careful about this. So let's see the raising and fronting. Let's do the raising and fronting. Let's actually do roll raising and fronting separately. Fronting. And how much? I have never played a halfling. No. Although when I played World of Warcraft, my main was a gnome. Because I do kind of like the idea of having the perspective of a short being, right? Okay, let's switch. Let's dice cam and we will figure out, okay, raising. Where does raising start? That's a 5, which means that it is in dawn. It starts in dawn. And then we have the fronting starts in what was that? 3. So oh gosh. Start. Interesting. both the raising and fronting starting in the same place. That's interesting. We're gonna have to figure out like why that happened. But I think that if we're going to do that, the raising, I think what we'll do is have them spread in opposite directions. Yeah. Well, I mean but I played the World of Warcraft gnome, which is very different than D&D gnomes. I might play a D&D gnome. It would be interesting. But mostly I've played humans and like half elves. I have I have a build idea. I have a build idea that could be a gnome or a human or a half elf. It just depends. The more important part of his personality is tied up with his class. But listen, a character that I would really love to play, and a character I would really love to play like live, would be an Aarakocra barbarian. Think about for a minute there, because Aarakocra can fly, and barbarians. I don't know if it depends on your subclass, but barbarians have a charge. You could essentially fly up in the air and dive bomb people. And also, like, I have a personality in mind for him. He'd just be like insane person, right? He'd just be very crazy. Because Aarakocra don't live very long, according to the lore. We're doing a lot of changes now. So this is interesting. So I had thought about this, like both of these moving into one, but actually, if they both start in dawn, I think that the raising will happen after we have this ash occur, right? And then so you get ash raising in both in uh, in both of these, right? Okay. So, but if you dive bomb people, right? And you can do fun stuff like pick people up and drop them and with that, but like I have ideas of like, you know, he'll tend to rush in as barbarians do, but also he might fly over and scout things. Yeah, it's a thought. It's a thought. I need to turn. I'm gonna turn down my gain because I feel that I am peaking a little bit. Okay. Okay. So we have yes, yes and no, yes. Okay. this is doing pretty good. We need to figure out like why this happened. Particularly in the place where it started. Yeah, that's true. The barbarian's whole thing is like action oriented, right? But so any other changes? So we need to. I want to figure out what happens to these two syllabic consonants. Um, okay. Oh, I have a plan. I have an idea for a wizard that never casts fireball, though. You can have a wizard that never casts fireball. That's totally reasonable because there are a lot of things that wizards can do. Um, so these are syllabic, and do you want to do anything with the retroflexes too? I don't know. It's fine. Now the thing is, we already are doing something in the middle stage with that just marginally in one thing, right? In that we have yeah, this ch ch became cht but um ch, right? Lost its syllabic nature. So we can have that happen more thoroughly in the language as we go on, right? Um, see. Hmm. So let's see. Let's have something happen in all dialects. And then we have, okay. Okay, and also voiceless vowels. What happens here? Okay, voiceless vowels. We'll work with that. Yeah, desyllabified before vowels. See ya, Aaron. And I think that happens to in every case. But I think maybe they remain in night as syllabic vowels. But in the other dialects, we can also have right. We get a schwa insertion, right? And then does that happen? Now I am, yeah, I think, and okay, another thing that I'm gonna do. Okay, I can get the beginnings of tone with this. So voiceless becomes high. In day and dawn. And low in dusk. Night dialect, I feel like it just stays there. There just are breathy voice vowels in the night dialect. Also leads to like a I know I said I don't want to stereotype things, but it does lead to like a hushed thing, right? Oh, I did actually write vowels there, but okay. Can I do the web view? Yeah. And then something I want to do at some point in here, I think actually we want to happen shortly after the fricative mutation. No, actually no. What we want other things to happen. I'm going to I'm going to have a nasal mutation that doesn't occur. Oh, these cells. Yeah. I think we'll go with 3 mutations. We can have a nasal mutation. And what other mutation could we have? So, or maybe just 2. What mutations are there? Let me um not really telling me anything about them. Let's just take a look at Okay, we have some insertion things. I can do something like that. I can have a so like you have something that's inserted. How did that happen? Okay. That I don't think we're going to do that in this stage. Yeah. Epenthetic. I think we can have an H epenthesis. We can do that. Now let's see where they start. Where'd my dice go? Let's switch to the dice cam. Probably need a better document camera at some point. So that starts in dawn. The nasal mutation will start in dawn. And how many of these will it affect? Where is my D4? That's no, I don't want all 4 of them. Let's do it like this. Just happen just in dawn? That can work. Right? And then for the H epenthesis, where does it start? That also starting in dawn. And then let's say not 4, let's 2 of them. So let's say the H epenthesis only occurs in the twilight dialect, so it can be a special thing for them. No, no. And then finally, I want... Yeah, so we figured out what happens here. I think actually in the day dialect, this happens too. And then for the twilight dialects, right? There is we want to, no, I think actually we just have 2 different outcomes. I think 2 outcomes is enough for this. And then one last thing. I want it to happen after the nasal mutation. So nasal mutation is going to be a coda nasal causes the next thing to assimilate, right? So we're going to have a nasal occur where it wouldn't otherwise. So this only occurs in dawn, but one last thing is I'm going to have a quick vote. Let's pull up straw poll to make this, because I want this to be like an approval thing. So create poll. Should we delete final consonants or final vowels? So here is what my thinking is that um and actually I want you to have the option to specify both, but we'll do it as an approval thing. What this will do is, if you're deleting either final consonants or final vowels, this is going to make the lenition mutation unpredictable. Now, we're going to work on like what the domain of that is and like what words actually affect each other. But that's a problem for the future when we're actually like sorting out exactly how these work. But by deleting either final consonants or final vowels, we're going to make the lenition mutation like confusing. By dialect. Okay, we're going to create a poll. Oh, wait. I want to edit this. Edit this. I want to give you guys 5 minutes on it. So let's go today, and let's go. I'll give you all the way to 9:20 because we got other things we can save changes. Now I can share it, and let's see if this sends properly. Okay. And just gonna double check that it get on to, it went to Twitch, it did not go to YouTube, so I'll send it directly to YouTube. Okay. I see 3 likes on my thing. That's nice. Yeah, so I will be watching the results of that. Now, but so we'll leave that for now. But I think that's the last sound change I really want to deal with. I think actually we can do this and after vowels. Well, it doesn't really occur after vowels. Before. How does this ever happen? Right. It doesn't actually occur before vowels, except when there's a deletion happening. Which is super rare. I'm going to have to think more on this. It's possible that there's just the schwa insertion. By the way, we need to figure out what happens to schwa. Let's think about that now. Schwa. Because the thing is, like, we have a long schwa, which is super odd. I think schwa. I think that different dialects are going to do different things. Yes, I know. Here, let's split cells. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking with schwa is that, let's see, I'm going to have winter and dusk. Let's say here to here in harmonizes with the oh yeah, harmonizes with the backness slash rounding of previous vowel. And then it's going to be elsewhere. So we're going to get rid of schwas in here. Particularly since, like, in some cases I have a long schwa. I don't really... I have stressed schwas in this language. And I kind of, since I have a stressed schwa in Ndakaga, I kind of, at least within these exotic languages, I kind of want to keep that to Ndakaga as a unique feature and like move away from that in others. Schwa. Maybe only stress schwa? I'm gonna think on that. Whether we remove all the schwas or not. But let's see. And then I think we're done. This is quite a lot of changes actually for just splitting off dialects. My next step here is going to be to operationalize this in Lexergy and figure out like we need to figure out ordering for a lot of this stuff. Which is going to be a pickle. In fact, let's see what our poll says. In fact, let's get that poll. Okay, so the vote went to. Okay, people want both to happen. So let's final vowel deletion, and then insert rows below final consonant deletion, and then let's go ahead and do the roles here. However, I'm actually going to be changing that order. Oh. Switch up to dice cam. Where did this start? 6? No, 8. 8 means that it started in dusk. And how many dialects did the final vowel deletion affect? Just one? Okay. Okay. And then we have final consonant deletion. 6. 6 means that it also started in dusk. I'm going to make the executive decision that this spread to everything. So let's go back. So what I've done here, let's merge, because I do want some of this effect to be everywhere. Now, what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to make sure that these two things happen before. Oh, this should be split cells. Okay. I want to have these happen before the H epenthesis mutation, in particular, because I think that it's very likely that that H could get lost. Like the H, if you have that environment with the H being inserted between vowels, and then suddenly you delete one of the vowels, it's very easy for that H to just disappear. So I don't want that to happen. So I will make sure that that happens after these deletion rules happen so that it remains. That does mean that the H epenthesis rule is going to be pretty predictable. If I borrow the thing that happened as Irish with certain H's occurring due to morphology, then we could adjust that. But so this means that we're pretty solid now. I can futz around with ordering, but I think I'm going to do some futzing around with ordering per individual dialect too. So that is going to be something that we can deal with. Definitely want these two things are going to be like the first thing. So let's actually, how am I going to do this within Lexergy? Do I have to just make 4 different files? Is my question. I think so. First thing I'm going to do before I get into that, is I want to have some more like paradigms in my back pocket so that I have some ideas of what analogies happen before we get into the split. Because analogical leveling is a thing. And I'm just going to make a bunch of examples first and run them through sound changes. Excel and Sylvan inflection work. So I have the so so like if I plug in a root here, right? So the singular oblique is not working correctly. Okay, so I need to. Yeah, I can probably. I think I will do 4 separate Lexergy files. Okay, this is just like an example. Okay, and then I need to go figure out what is the oblique. So the oblique. The next step is going to be figuring out morphology, and I think my oblique is going to turn into different things. Possibly get lost in some dialects entirely. Um, because we have some prepositions, those cases could fade away. But first, okay, oblique EQ. EQ. So so I'm actually saying this is at EQ. So this should be EQ. Oh, why is this? Oh, okay. So we should have this. We need to have the root in there. And then to do that. Right. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Lexifer. And I'm going to hit, I'm going to generate like 100 roots. And this is, and then what we're going to do is these get, okay. Okay, so, and then this, how can I randomly choose between the 5? So where is this? Where is my list? Okay. So I'm just gonna. I don't know. I'm just going to. Well, and then take this. if this pattern, if this works, then I can continue that pattern. No, I don't want to, so I want to continue this pattern through all of them. And why is that not working right? Oh, is this, okay. Okay, we're having an issue here. Okay, so this be that like that. Why am I? What do you mean? Ah, yeah. This I need to. And then if I do this, and then I need to go to where my that is. What do you mean? It's not sheet two? Sheet two is here. Okay. And then make this a space in order to. Okay. This needs the same treatment here. Okay. Then I'm going to take this stuff and go into Lexergy. This is quite a lot of data. Let's see. Okay. I got an error on one. Okay. What is the error here? Okay. I want to do this. Okay. And then I'm going to, meanwhile, I'm going to just go back here and then I will take, for this one, I'm just going to separate out all these words to see where the error is happening. Trace. Wait, oh. Syllables. Interesting. That works. Oh, okay. Fixing the, fix that. So, what we're looking for is like patterns where this may take a little bit more like concentration than I can do right here. This seems like a bug with 3 U's in a row. But okay, so Pshik. And then happy conlanging, Diane. So what we'll want to do is we want to we do a filter. Filter view. Like if we just look at autotrophs, right? So if we try to look for patterns, we have a situation, okay, like if you have EC, you have E, right? EC and E, EC, EC, E. It's pretty regular. EC and ET, right? So what I would be looking for is cases where these patterns, we already have this happening somehow. We already have the ash happening, which I thought that we didn't. See? Itay. Right. If we have any kind of a diphthong, we're gonna have to. We may have to come back tomorrow and think more about more diphthongs because I'm picking up on diphthongs that I didn't have before. So we have this pattern of Lucy or uthe, right? And uthe becomes e. And then right? And then does that happen in another place, right? There you have a constant intervening. Okay. And this seems to be the same class. So, right. Ithi e ithichu. Oh. Wait, I need to. Ichu. Ichu. Oh, we definitely will need to. Okay. We need to figure out what happens to the uvulars. Because uvulars don't stay. Uvulars do not. So we end up with these alternations of the for rounded and unrounded. Right. So you see what I'm doing is I'm sort of defining like different declensions that are happening here. Just as a result of my sound changes. And then I can adjust that to, I can use that to consider like whether you would have some analogy happening, whether some of these like classes would collapse into other classes. So this is gonna be tedious, but I'm now thinking we need to return here before we go. I want to go to the dialect split, and I need to think about what's going to happen to qa. Now, some things, let's place this kind of early, actually. We're gonna, it's like in here, maybe in the middle of the vowel. Let's for simplicity, let's put it after vowel changes. And let's think about qa. And think about different things that can happen to qa. Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's definitely going to be some potential for analogy with the complicated nature of what I'm doing it. So I think maybe that's something I'm going to work on a little bit off stream and then show you guys later. But right now I'm running low on time. But I want to quickly say, I'm going to say this remains caught in the night dialect, except let's do K, G, and call. These remain these all of these get palatalized. So they always get to ch, right? This is going to happen for all four. We'll work out more about the yeah, okay. No. We need to treat this separately. We need to do this. We're going to do call and then palatalize. These palatalize to cha. And that kind of happens across the board. Like this is a part of the palatalization change. This one becomes ka. And that kind of happens everywhere. But here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have, so certain ones, it's always ka. Here it's going to always become ha. Palatalized becomes sha. And here we'll have same thing in day and dawn. We need some more things that are shared between them. There we go. So the night dialect ends up being the only one that remains Gaul. I'm not super happy with like the potential stereotyping in that, but it's not too much to have just one thing like that happen. I think so. Okay, if you had suffixes split, if we have suffixes split, and particularly, I think it would just end up being two different declensions, not two different classes, because you wouldn't have the semantic core with that. So it would probably be interpreted as one class. Remember that classes also have a lot of agreement going on with verbs, so you have to consider that. Okay, now to end us out, I'm going to, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll have to think about it a little bit, Tinglish, but we'll be working on those things. Meanwhile, it is time to go, and I'm going to. I have an announcement. I'm not going to be here next week. We are planning to be like gone. So, as long as everything like works out, then I will not be in my house next week. So we're not going to be streaming next week, but I will hope to see you guys the next week. In the meantime, I'm going to try to work on like work on this part a little bit. And let's turn off the filter, and I will like work on some of these, figure out what kinds of declensions I have, and see whether I can do some analogical leveling at the middle stage. And then after that, we'll see how things go. That's interesting thoughts. But for now, I will see you the week after next. And I'm also going to try to get a podcast episode out in between. I've been a little bit busy, unable to get that done. But I have one in the can that I'm working on editing. So, with that all said, thank you all for joining me, and happy conlanging.